to briefly address a matter that is actually not of public interest, but as we like sensational news in St. Martin, I still thought I'm just going to make a statement on it because of an administrative matter that occurred recently again in my organization. As Prime Minister, I wish to inform the public that, consistent with my approach in previous matters, I will not divulge the identity of the individual that was involved in a national degree that was presented to her concerning a development in the organization. And why I do not do that, and why I'm not going to go into the details of this case is because I really believe in the integrity of the investigation that has to take place, and we have to respect the integrity of this investigation. And further than that, I do not think it's good for the person, and also not of government, to divulge actually information that is of an internal matter. As this matter remains under review, we will allow the appropriate processes to take their course, and I will not comment further on this matter. Why? Because it does not add any additional value to the progress of our community. It is an internal matter, and I think we should respect internal matters of our organization, and especially also protect the parties involved in this, and it will follow its course. And at the end of the day, we will see the outcome of the investigation. By the airport, we have now 1.8 million tourists coming into 2026 to St. Martin. If you have 1.8 million, from this 1.8 million, about 700,000 tourists from this 1.8 million are going to stay on the island. The rest is transfer. If you divide 700 people by 300 and 700,000 divided by 365, it's going to be approximately 6,500 people on a daily basis added to the populace of St. Martin. So we have average 4,657 tourists added through the cruise line to St. Martin on a daily basis, and we have 6,500 tourists added through the airport on a daily basis on our island. So realize good, we are the 11th most densely populated country. We have 7 roads in St. Martin. We have 4,657 people added through the cruise lines to our island every day. We have 1,917 added in total through the airlines. That means that together, cruise line and airport together will be 6,500 per day. Let's continue. We have hotel rooms, 4 hotel rooms and timeshare. We have 4,262 hotel rooms and timeshare. We have condos and apartments, 1,426. Villas that we're renting out in the tourist sector is 1,779. And guest rooms and studios, we have 152. Together, we have 7,619 spaces that we actually offer tourists on this island. We want all of that, and we need all of that, what I just mentioned. But on the other side, it brings with it addition of traffic on the 7 roads that we have in St. Martin. And now, as Prime Minister, I like to discuss things with my people. We want the hotels, we want the condos, we want the Airbnbs, we want the cruise lines, We want the airport tourist that comes in. We want condo development. We want apartment complexes. We want new hotels. There's a discussion of Planet Hollywood coming. Setai Hotel is coming. We want all of that, but we do not want the traffic that comes with it. If we add a hotel of 500 rooms to this island, it brings 250 rental cars with it. That has to be added to the traffic net of St. Martin because these people need a transportation to get along on this island. But in our style, it's about N. And then once we add all of the developments that we're in that actually we need, I acknowledge that too, there is another side to this story, is of course the traffic increase for the island of St. Martin. We want all the tourists, and we're grateful and thankful for that because it's our monopillar economy that we have. And on the other side, we are complaining of the traffic. So if we want all of that, there are some things that we as a citizen of this country has to do ourselves. Assume responsibility. Is that necessary that we need one car for every 2 persons in this country? Or are we going to continue now with the development of going to one car for each citizen of the country? That is a question that we can ask realistically ourselves to contribute our part to solving the traffic problem that everybody is complaining about. We have, of course, after discussing all what I have shared with you that is contributing to the traffic congestion in our country, of course, we have the possibility of, for example, solutions. So once I have described the whole context, why we have this congestion of traffic, I think it's also good for us to see what are the possibilities of contributing to solve the problem. As I said, all of us in this country must ask ourselves if we are going to continue with the trend of for each 2 persons, 1 car is necessary in this country. Or are we going to share cars with more than 2 people? This one. Secondly, we are looking into the option of looping the traffic. That means that we are going to change the 2 directions into 1 direction. And for example, loop the traffic in O's or in 8's while using all the roads that we have that is in a 2 direction to make them 1 direction. In that way, you get a flow of what we call looping. Thirdly, we are looking once more in the reorganization of the public transportation. And secondly, how we're going to improve the bus stops that the buses do not stop on the road. What we are seeing now is that the bus drivers are just stopping on the road, causing more congestion in traffic. And they do it in a way like it's their right to just stop on the middle on the road to leave people get in the buses and get out. I think these are mindset changes that have to take place if we all want to contribute to a solution of the traffic of St. Martin. We can also talk about the car import. Are we going to continue in this high velocity of importing cars for St. Martin? As I said, we have now 1 car for every 2 persons living in this country. Are we going to now go to 1 car for each person? Because we are now by 1 car for 2 persons. Further, we are looking as government to the possibility of opening the road from Weymouth Hill to Dutch Quarter. It has some issues with land there, but we are trying again to see if we can solve that problem so we can have access from Weymouth to Dutch Quarter. One that have been discussed many times is also the reopening or opening a road from Marigot Hill, from St. Peter, over the Marigot Hill, going to Marigot to the French side. We discussed yesterday also in the Council of Ministers that we're going to seriously look into these 2 options of the Weymouth Hill to Dutch Quarter and St. Peter's through the Marigot Hill to the French side. One more thing is, for example, also to improve the connectivity between Cahill and Cold Bay, the side road that we have there in Cahill going over the hill as a second collateral road to Cold Bay. That is one that we're going to see if we can improve that road in a way that it has a more significant contribution to relief of traffic in St. Martin. Also, what we think should or can be a solution that is going to be discussed with the police department is to put police officers / VKS'ers at the crucial bottleneck points on the traffic net of St. Martin to help the flow in a way that it gives some relief to the congestion. And also, the bridge of Simpson Bay is opening at this particular moment sometimes five times a day. The question is, if we broaden that bridge and make it higher, that more boats can pass under it, if that will contribute to the congestion of traffic that is caused by opening of the bridge. As you see, I have had some ideas about the traffic of St. Martin. First of all, of course, I want my citizens of my country to think about their contribution also to solve the problem of traffic. And as I have heard many times the Minister of TH saying that they are busy with a capacity study because you can continue developing more and more and more this country, but at a certain moment you're going to challenge the infrastructure of the country.
Are you Asset V insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? Asset V is cardless. Request your My Asset V account today and enter the virtual office of Asset V. Go to assetv.sx and sign up now.
Asset V, yeah. Your social and health insurances.
bekijkt de wereld met een Caribische blik. En dat is een grote waarde voor ons allemaal. Uw inbreng maakt onze gedeelde ervaringswereld groter en onze positie op het wereldtoneel sterker. We willen ons allemaal vertrouwd en veilig voelen in onze eigen omgeving. Door alle veranderingen en onzekerheden staat dat gevoel soms onder druk. Hier op Aruba werkt dat ook, op tal van manieren. Gevoel, dat leeft in het hart. Zeker ook in het hart van mijn familie. De oudste dochter. Koningin en ik waren trots om haar bij u te kunnen introduceren. Ook zij heeft het ervaren. Aruba ademt hartelijkheid. Wie dit land eenmaal heeft leren kennen, wil er altijd blijven terugkomen. Aruba is warmte, levensvreugde en doorzettingsvermogen. Ook als het even tegenzit. Aruba is optimisme, gemeenschapszin, omkijken naar elkaar. En bovenal hartveroverende gastvrijheid. Om al die redenen wil ik u geluk wensen op deze bijzondere feest.
verdere ontwikkeling van het eiland binnen het Koninkrijk in de komende jaren?
Oh, dat is een hele moeilijke vraag, maar ik moet vooral zeggen dat het heel bijzonder was vandaag deze hier in Himmelen weer aanwezig te zijn. 50 jaar sinds de vlag en het volkslied, 40 jaar sinds de staatsaparte, 30 jaar sinds de laatste keer dat ik hier was op deze bijzondere dag. En je ziet een zelfverzekerd Aruba dat kijkt naar de toekomst, dat vertrouwen heeft in de toekomst, wat ook de problemen onder ogen ziet. Het eiland staat natuurlijk onder druk van toerisme. En toerisme is de belangrijkste levensader van het eiland. Maar het eiland heeft ook een prachtige natuur, mooie mensen. En die moeten ook de ruimte krijgen om te blijven groeien. En het begrip dat hier steeds meer ontstaat van de mensen op Aruba, dat ze ook het eiland moeten koesteren. En de natuur moeten koesteren. En moeten zorgen dat dit mooie eiland, dit westelijk deel van ons koninkrijk, een belangrijk deel van ons koninkrijk, op deze manier ook voor de toekomst duurzaam aan toerisme kan blijven doen. Zodat ook gewoon de mensen die hier wonen ook een kwalitatief goed leven hebben.
Het was een heel mooi bezoek. U heeft heel veel gezien hier, 40 jaar staatsaparte. Maar er is ook gesproken, u noemde zelf net al toerisme, maar bijvoorbeeld ook over migratie is gesproken. En er is ook gesproken over geopolitieke spanningen. U ziet, de bevolking van Aruba heeft u in uw hart. Maar wat is de boodschap die u aan de bevolking van Aruba heeft nadat u deze dingen gehoord heeft?
Ja, kijk, ik kom er sinds 87 al hier, was mijn eerste bezoek aan het eiland. En toen werd er al gezegd, we moeten oppassen dat we niet te veel toeristen hier gaan toelaten. En inmiddels zijn de aantallen gigantisch gegroeid en alles. Maar het eiland is ook meegegroeid, ook dankzij migratie. Dat zijn onderwerpen die je niet los van elkaar kan zien. Maar ja, met migratie krijg je ook weer druk op de sociale infrastructuur, scholen, onderwijs, op onze gezondheidszorg, op allerlei andere manieren. Dus dat moet gecontroleerd gaan.
I have to agree that the contribution to government coffers could increase significantly if we observe other countries that have adopted cannabis regulation. There's a clear uptrend in government revenue. But while I support all initiatives that will generate revenue for St. Martin, I do need some clarifications on a few things. I understand it's about the agriculture aspect at the moment, but the presentation did have some numbers. I just want some clarification on that first before I go on to the agriculture side of things. So if the projected revenue is 500 million over 5 years, and the estimated tourist consumption rate post-legalization is 28%, as mentioned in the slides, would the remaining 350 million estimated in projected revenue then be expected to come from local consumption? Considering the relatively small population of St. Martin, I think that projection needs some further clarification. If we compare to the Netherlands, they generate approximately 400 million annually from cannabis-related revenues with a population of roughly 20 million persons, excluding the tourism revenue. In comparison, St. Martin's population is about 100,000, including the French side. Yet projections suggest St. Martin could generate 100 million annually, and as I mentioned, what was on the slide, 500 million over 5 years. While St. Martin does benefit over firm, strong tourism numbers, approximately 1.5 million cruise passengers and about 700,000 visitors from the airport arrive each year. The question, again, is how such projections can be calculated relative to our significantly smaller population base. Now, to the agriculture side, I would like to know how have farmers responded to the outreach geared towards farmers' growth and development within the sector? I saw on the slides that there will be land allocated for 19 farmers. Is that land privately secured, or are you seeking government allocated land? I also saw the possibility for exportation. Will our local farmers have access to exporting their product? And just for clarity, I did see that there were 47 licenses in the presentation, if that can be broken down as well. That's it for now.
So first I want to start off with, because obviously in the presentation, we had a couple of slides given the timeline of the, from RFP up until now. And of course, when the RFP started, some of us that are now MPs were then in government. And so I want to make it very clear for the public on what the RFP was about and what the intentions of government was, because that was not really stated on these slides. And I think it was also missing today in the presentation. Yes, we touched on it a couple of times, but it was missing from the presentation. So the RFP, in the RFP was a part of the RFP, what this group had to do was study the economic impacts, which we have, the social impacts, and the health impacts of the legalization of cannabis, right? So we had a slide about the health impacts. I think one slide wasn't enough because we talked a lot about economics, but we didn't really go into the health impacts of it. When we were there also, one of the topics that came up as a minister was, okay, how are we going to support, because even the 3% that was mentioned, right, is still 3%, right? How are we going to support the entities that already support, right, persons that are dealing with drug abuse, for example, right? That was not mentioned here. So we're missing a lot of parts, I believe, that what the RFP was about. Are we going to support Turning Point? Are we going to support the Mental Health Foundation? And how we're going to support them? What's the relationship with the funds that are here? Or is it going to be, the government going to increase their income and then the government then going to give subsidies to these entities? Or is it that Native nations and other related entities, they are putting money into Turning Point, into mental health, and other associated entities that deal with areas of drug abuse, etc. Like I said, the social impact also. And then it was about developing a framework about the regulated market. In addition to that, it was about exploring medical marijuana, the scientific, the religious, and the recreational, because we know, as you mentioned in your presentation also, all these are different ways and steps of introducing marijuana in a country. And the route that most countries took initially, which was the easiest, right, was the medical, right? That was the initial, recreational, and most countries still aren't there, right? Medicinals were the initial route gain into the countries. So I just want to be very clear, yes, and then the economic feasibility of it, because today I feel like we're discussing it as if it is going to happen. And we're discussing as if like we are going to work on this legislation, and let's say in 2 years it's going to be done. But that might not even happen if all of these studies show that it's negative. If the social impact is negative, it doesn't even make sense to do the legislation. If the health benefits are negative, it doesn't make sense to do legislation. If the economics doesn't make sense, we won't continue legislation. So I think right now we're talking about legislation as if all of these already are proven positive, which I'm not saying is yes or no. I'm just saying we have to be this is a very sensitive and a big topic for the island, right? We only get one chance to do this right. So we have to be very clear on these items first before we act or present ourselves as if we're continuing the legislation. Why? The legislation is going to be built off of the data of the areas on this side, which is social, health, economics, and medicine.
SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXV, yeah, your social health insurances.
Closed cemeteries, confusion over burial plots, and frustrated councillors caught in the middle.
You have been pussyfooting on the matter because yes, it's a word. It is actually a word. It is actually a word. This request came in from January, CU, which is March now, and we have heard absolutely nothing.
Inside a tense municipal corporation meeting, councillor for the Claremont Division, Cadian Harty, unleashing frustration over the controversial closure of the Claremont Cemetery.
I refuse to accept that we have 17 spots available in the cemetery and we are burying the cemetery. I refuse to accept it.
17 spaces left, but no burials allowed. The reason? A claim that 13 of those plots may already belong to one family.
We have checked the records. We are not able to verify what they have said. But at the same time, it would be irresponsible of us to go ahead and sell the 17 spots that remain. That's all we are saying.
It means that anybody can write to say, I have reserved spots in the cemetery without the necessary documentation. So you can expect to get more then.
And there could very well be more.
And what will you do then?
We will check. Look here, Chairman, there's no need for this back and forth thing. I think there is.
But Claremont is just one piece of a growing crisis. Across St. Anne's Bay, Brownstown, Ocherius and Lime Hall, cemeteries are already shut, another on the brink, leaving one community to shoulder the burden of the dead. Councillor for the Lime Hall Division, Geneva Gordon-Bailey, knows it all too well.
Anyone knows what is happening know that the Steertown Cemetery literally has become the parish cemetery in St. Anne. On any given Saturday, 5-6 funerals are there. The citizens of Steertown literally cannot access their play field. All of that is blocked from people coming from all. If there's 5 funerals up there, rarely does one person come from Steertown.
While the community struggles, acres of land sit elsewhere. More than 50 acres in Walkerswood and Beechertown with active cemeteries, yet access remains uneven.
It is unfair for the citizen or residents of a community to have their dead and can't bury them anymore there. And I'm speaking specifically for Steertown because of the parish cemetery.
Mayor of St. Anne's Bay, Michael Belnavis, offering a blunt reminder.
So without the receipts, they can take that claim. Okay? Straightforward. So it's so if you need them, you would have gotten, if you reserve a spot, you would have gotten a receipt. And you're supposed to keep that along with your passport and so on. So it is the ownership is on the individual to prove that they have the spot.
Sandy Williams, TVJ News.
During a walkabout of Housing Development Corporation apartments on Nelson and George Streets with community activist Lennox Smith, Minister in the Ministry of Housing Philip Alexander said families have endured unacceptable living conditions for years. As he spoke to residents in the community, he also challenged opposition representatives, which include MPs from the People's National Movement and former housing ministers, to see the situation firsthand.
All you have a mile to talk. All you want to use black people to get back into office. Come and walk here. Come and walk in this community and explain to the people who live in these houses. I just watched a property burn down, how long? 6 years?
Yeah, 10 years. It's more than
There was a lady who apartment burned, she living in a lane. And all they want to go and do video and talk about this government. We on the ground in your constituencies.
One apartment building on the compound was partially destroyed by fire and remains a major safety concern. Minister Alexander says broader work is also underway behind the scenes to regularize home ownership and accelerate long-promised repairs.
I am going to make a report when I get back to office, and I'm going to try and get the engineers here to tell me if this building could be salvaged or if it has to be demolished and rebuilt. There are a lot of things are happening behind the scenes. Yes. With the government and these HEC houses. We want to make sure everybody ends up with proper title to their homes and that we maintain and fix everything so that when we hand over, everybody is in good condition, right? So Mr. Smith is going to be mobilizing the community for that, to give information. If you was paying attention, Sunday we went down Point 14 to do the same thing in Lakeview. We're taking care of everybody, all right? So the plan is here now to get the maintenance team on this site, and I promise you that will be in, if not today, tomorrow. They will come and they'll identify the problem and we will address this.
This is our SXM Daily Newscast. Thank you for joining us.